morning, or depending on when you're watching this, good afternoon, good evening, or good night. My name's Ross, and as always told, out of Voice of Radio. So today, with VSTAR Universe out in the wild, it's time to look at which are the most expensive cards from the set. And if you were hoping that there wouldn't be very many, and that it was going to be a very easy set to pick up all the singles you wanted, I might have bad news for you, ladies and gentlemen. Now, we will check back in, I don't know, later in the week, next week, some point, seeing what's happening with the prices. They should start going down. Remember, the set is just released, so it's about as expensive as it's going to get. It is going to start dropping as we go down, but as it stands at the moment, things are expensive. What's the most expensive card? I think if you thought about it for a moment or two, you could probably guess the top two. Number one, it's Aerator. Yeah, it was kind of always going to be Aerator though, wasn't it? Remember, and it's actually sold out. As I'm looking at Card Rush right now, Aerator is sold out. Now, they do this weird thing where they put up listings and it sells out, and they put up a new listing for a new price and all of that. As it stands at the moment, there is no Aerator listing which is in stock over on Card Rush. That's the website I'm using over in Japan to have a look at some of the prices here. Is it perfect? No. Is it a really good website which helps me to track all of them together? Yes, absolutely. So as it stands at the moment, Aerator is coming in at 32,800 yen, but bearing in mind it's sold out at that price. So rather than going down, this one, at least in the short term, we would be expecting it to go up. And 32,800 yen comes in at $245 or £200. Yeah. And it's Aerator. It is a playable card, but it's Aerator. We saw exactly the same thing happening when Space Juggler came out. And Aerator in that set, it actually pushed that set. Remember, there was a double set, Space Juggler and Time Gazer. And Space Juggler became a lot more expensive, partly because of Palkia, but I think largely because of Aerator here. And I might be using English scans just because I've got nice, clear English scans to show you. I might be able to find the Japanese ones. We'll have to wait and see. It's something I'll figure out in editing, but for now, that's where we are. But this is a cooler Aerator than the old one. Don't expect this card to ever be cheap. This was always going to be one of the big ones. Sorry about that. Now, I expected number 2 to be Gold Giratina, and it's number 3. But number 2, we've got Elisas Sparkle. Currently completely sold out over on Card Rush. You ain't going to find it, I'm afraid, ladies and gentlemen. And you are going to be paying for this 24,800 yen. Yeah, I mean, it's cheaper than Aerator at least. But it is expensive. You're talking $185 or £150. One thing that is very interesting about this is that this is a super or a secret rare rather than a special art rare. It doesn't really matter, honestly, because secret rares are 1 per box and special art rares are 1 per box, but there are fewer of the secret rares, so in theory this is actually a card of a slightly higher pull rate, so that is something to very much bear in mind. And then we get to Gold Giratina. Gold Giratina is sold out at 21,800 yen. This is another one where it is completely sold out at the time of recording. The Card Rush is just completely sold out of this card. It is gone. 21,800 yen, you're talking about $160 or around about £130. It's not a cheap card. The thing is, this is one that's got a lot going for it. I mean, firstly, it's one of those gold Igawa cards, and goodness me, they're all amazing. But also, it's Giratina, who is, of course, a very popular Pokemon, you know, the poster child of Platinum. And also, Giratina's a really good card. And sure, with the release of the latest set, Paradigm Trigger in Japan, Silver Tempest over here, I will admit that this Giratina is not as playable as it was when Lost Abyss or Lost Origin were the newer sets. But make no mistake about it, Giratina is still a very, very good card indeed. Now, we're going to be talking more about this, I think, tomorrow, probably. But I do just want to mention for the moment, for that exact same price, you can also get yourself the Pikachu. Now, this one is extremely interesting to me, because it's currently a 21,800 yen card, And generally speaking, usually, you should not buy cards on release. That is, generally speaking, a very bad idea. This is the exception. Now, it turns out that, as I showed you yesterday, this is actually a card which only appears in God packs. So you got that set of 9 cards that put together make an image. This is one of those 9 cards. But actually, there was a period of time where this wasn't necessarily known so much, and it was a significantly cheaper card. It was never like a cheap card, but initially this went up for a lot less, and then people kind of realized it was a God pack thing, and it was actually had an extremely low pull rate, and now this Pikachu's gone up to 21,800. And here's the problem, and this might sound reductive, but I'm going to say it. It's a Pikachu. People love Pikachu. Pikachu is the most popular Pokemon for a reason. Pikachu being the mascot, really, you've got to think, has got to be one of the main reasons why we've actually seen Pokemon be as successful as it has been. It's a good mascot. And now you've got this really rare one that's only actually going to be popping up in these God packs. Yeah. This is going to be expensive. I don't think this is ever going to be a particularly cheap card. We still don't really know how rare these God packs with Pikachu in are, but that is a very expensive card. Now, they're the 4 that are coming in over 20,000 yen, and I think it's fair to say that these are, hideously expensive cards. I mean, that's probably a fair way to put it. These are very, very, very expensive cards, and these are going to be the ones you're absolutely looking to pull. And there aren't any others that are quite on that level, but there are a whole bunch of other cards that are not a million miles away. I mean, if we look at the other gold cards here, the number 2, I mean, they are in the order they should be. So number 2 is Arceus, which is currently coming in at 18,800 yen. Because remember, firstly, it's Arceus. Arceus is very popular. Secondly, Arceus is extremely playable. So you're talking $140 or about £115. Now, this one is in stock for that price. It was listed for lower than that. It has since gone and sold out. This is now what you're paying for it. And I do expect all of these prices to drop over the next week or two. Now, some will start creeping up again. I say all of them. Maybe things like Aerator won't. But I do expect things like this Arceus to go down a little bit. But it's probably not going to stay there for too long. Palkia is significantly cheaper at 8,980 yen. But let's be clear, it's still not exactly a cheap card at all. You're talking, 9,000 yen, you're talking around about $67 or around about £55. Palkia is still very playable. Again, not as playable as it used to be because, Lugia happened, but still a very playable card. It's still one of these Gold Agawa cards. It is still absolutely stunning. And then, of course, you've got your Dialga coming in at about 8,000 yen. So you do see another drop-off again. The reason is, and Dialga's a good card that's seen a little bit of play and success, but I do think it's fair to say that of the 4 legendaries that got this gold VSTAR treatment, Dialga is very clearly the worst of them. And I don't think that's a particularly controversial statement. 8,000 yen, you're talking around about $60 or around about £48. So it's still more than the price of a box over in Japan. Not the price of a box over here, but still, pretty expensive card. Now, there are a couple that actually come in more expensive than those last couple of gold cards, and they are ones you should have been expecting. Friends in Sinnoh and Friends in Hisui. Friends in Hisui currently winning, incidentally. It's got Aerator on. And honestly, I think that's probably your explanation. This is a card I very much want. It is. I've got 2 boxes on the way. Shall we say, if I'm hoping what happens is, the VMAX Climax we saw, really out of stock initially, impossible to get hold of, could not get a box for love nor money. And then Pokemon kept printing and kept printing and kept printing. And there were a couple of months where you could just casually go and pick this up at retail. It was in stock on the... I mean, it got to the point where when I was putting an order in on the Pokemon Center online in Japan, I would just add a couple of packs of VMAX Climax because it was perpetually in stock, and I just liked opening that set. I'm hoping that happens with VSTAR Universe, and I will buy many more boxes. As it stands at the moment, yeah, I just hope I can pull a couple of these very cool cards. Friend in Nisui, you're talking 12,400 yen, which is $92 or 75 pounds. It is a very expensive card. It is a smidge more than Friends in Sinnoh, and it is just a smidge more than Friends in Sinnoh, because bearing in mind that's still a very cool popular card. That one's coming in at 10,400 yen, so roughly in the region of $77 or 63 pounds. Still, I think we can all agree a pretty expensive card. So those two are absolutely there. And in terms of the really expensive cards, there's only two others to mention. And again, these are ones that you could probably have seen coming. Charizard VSTAR. Now look, I know that for us, Charizard VSTAR is in that Charizard Ultra Premium collection, and it's very easy to get hold of. Over in Japan, that is not the case. It is not a promo. It is not easy to get hold of. It is one that you've got to pull from a pack. And it is still an alternate art Charizard, so it's coming in at 8,500 yen, which is, it's quite a bit, quite frankly. Roughly, you're coming in at $63, or around about 51 pounds. It's an alternate art Charizard. And then we got Cynthia's Ambition, which is more playable than a lot of the cards we've talked about here, but it's also an absolutely stunning artwork of Cynthia, who's a very popular character. And no, we are not in Aerator territory here, let's be clear, but we are still the same price we just saw for the Charizard. So it's still pretty gosh darn expensive, I think it's fair to say. All the other cards are 5,000 yen or below, and I love you guys, and I like making these videos. We don't have time to go through all of these other cards, but fair to say these are pretty gosh darned important. There are a lot of cards from VSTAR Universe I am aiming for, and if I may be so bold as to suggest that you should probably be aiming for too. But for now, ladies and gentlemen, I want to know what you think about this. I want to know what your chase cards are. I want to know anything you want to tell me, so let me know in the comment section. Go nuts! Be nice! And then make sure you like this video, subscribe to this channel, follow me on Twitter at the Wasi. That's where we talk Pokemon and card games and Pokemon card games, all kinds of fun things. And please do consider checking out patreon.com/PTCG Radio, where you can support the channel. You can get some bonus podcasts where I answer all of your questions. You can join a Discord and chat with us and generally have a lot of fun. And you can get shout-outs on the channel like the lovely Uber MX, who's been a supporter of ours for a long time now and is a very lovely person indeed. So thank you very much for the support, and thank you for being a very lovely person. But by far the most important thing as always, look after yourselves till next time, would ya? Thank you very much for watching. My name's Ross, and you've been watching PTCG Radio.